You know, you look up at the night sky and it seems so calm, unchanging, right?
Yeah, absolute serene.
But turns out one of our closest neighbors, the Small Magellanic Cloud, is actually in the middle of some serious drama. A shocking discovery suggests it's being, well, ripped apart.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Uh,
Happening right next door, cosmically speaking, the SMC, the Small Magellanic Cloud. It's a dwarf galaxy,
Smaller than ours, yeah.
much smaller. It's been orbiting the Milky Way for ages, about 200,000 light years out.
Wow. And some people can actually see it.
That's right. If you're down south, southern hemisphere, or near the equator, you might spot it.
Yeah.
This looks like a kind of faint, blurry patch.
Huh.
So thinking that this thing you can potentially see with your own eyes is undergoing this massive disruption, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And that's what we're diving into today. There's this brand new research just out in the Astrophysical Journal supplement series, like last Thursday, April 10th, using data from Gaia, the ESA spacecraft. Exactly. And this data, it tells a really, well, a pretty violent story about the SMC. So our mission, if you will, is to unpack these findings.
And figure out why it matters.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're not an astrophysicist.
Right. Why should someone listening care about this distant, fuzzy patch?
Well, understanding what's happening in our galactic neighborhood gives us context.
Yeah.
A cosmic perspective. And the SMC, because it's relatively close.
Close in space terms?
Yeah, exactly. Close for us astronomers. It lets us study these galactic processes up close in a way we just can't with really distant galaxies.
Okay.
It's like this amazing natural lab on our doorstep. One of the researchers even called it a bird's eye view, and just stuff we can't really see clearly within our own Milky Way. It's just too crowded here.
Okay, so let's really dig into that main idea, the SMC being ripped apart. The core finding is about stars moving in opposite directions. How does that work?
Yeah, that's the crux of it. That opposing motion, it's really strong evidence of this.
Yeah.
Gravitational fight happening between the SMC and its bigger neighbor, the Large Magellanic Cloud, the LMC.
Ah, the LMC.
Right. Think of it like, I don't know, stretching taffy. Maybe.
Okay.
The LMC's gravity is just so much stronger, so it pulls harder on the side of the SMC that's closer to it. Those stars are actually speeding up, moving towards the LMC.
And the stars on the other side.
They're kind of being left behind, relatively speaking. So they appear to be moving away. It creates this split, this movement in opposite directions.
So it's like a galactic tug of war.
Exactly. A gravitational tug of war. We're literally watching gravity tear galaxy apart.
And this isn't just like a few weird stars acting up.
No. It seems to be a galaxy-wide thing. It's organized in a destructive sort of way.
It's pretty telling that one of the astronomers, Kengo Tachihara, he apparently thought their analysis was wrong at first.
Yeah, apparently he was really surprised, which, you know, in science, that's often a good sign you're onto something big.
Right. If you doubt your own result.
And then you double check, triple check, and find out, nope, it's real. They call the results indisputable. That really tells you how clear the evidence must be.
Wow. So the data from Gaia must be incredibly precise.
Absolutely. Being able to clearly separate these two groups of stars, one lot moving towards the LMC, the other moving away, that's compelling stuff. Tachihara's surprise, it just captures that sort of aha moment in science.
But wait, there was more, wasn't there? Another shocker in the study related to rotation.
Yes. This is where it gets maybe even more puzzling. They looked at the massive stars within the SMC, the big ones.
Okay.
And they found these massive stars are not rotating around the galaxy's center like you'd expect.
Do you mean like you'd expect? Don't stars always orbit the center?
Well, generally, yeah. In most galaxies, especially spiral ones like ours, you have this big rotating disk. Stars orbit the central hub, kind of like horses on a carousel, maybe. A coordinated movement.
Right, okay.
But these massive stars in the SMC, they're not doing that. Their movements seem much more chaotic, not aligned with a central rotation.
Huh. So what does that mean? Why is that so surprising?
Well, it suggests a couple of things. First, maybe our understanding of the SMC's basic structure, like how its mass is distributed, is off.
Okay.
And second, it hints that its history, its interactions with the LMC, and even with our Milky Way, might have been way more disruptive and messy than our previous models suggested.
So no neat, tidy orbits. More like a history of gravitational fender benders.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It implies the galaxy's internal dynamics are really scrambled, probably from these intense gravitational encounters over billions of years.
Okay, so if the stars aren't rotating normally, how does that affect the bigger picture? Like, our models of how these galaxies have interacted over time,
It could change things significantly.
Uh-huh.
The study actually says this lack of rotation could significantly alter the previously calculated histories of interactions among the Milky Way, LMC, and SMC.
Wow.
Because, those models rely heavily on assumptions about how mass is spread out in each galaxy and how they're moving. If the SMC's internal structure and motion are fundamentally different than we thought.
Then the whole history needs rethinking.
Potentially, yes. It's like finding out a key piece of historical evidence was misinterpreted. You have to go back and reevaluate the whole narrative. It really highlights how interconnected everything is in our local group of galaxies.
That makes sense. And I think you mentioned earlier, this isn't just about galactic history, right? It connects to star formation, too.
Precisely. The Magellanic Clouds, both the LMC and the SMC, they're fantastic places to study how stars form. Because they're close, we can see the details of stellar motions.
The bird's eye view thing again?
Exactly that. We just can't get that kind of detailed overall view of star formation regions within our own Milky Way because we're stuck inside it.
Right, we're in the forest, can't see the trees or the shape of the forest.
Nicely put. So by studying the SMC, especially now understanding these disrupted motions, we can learn how these big gravitational interactions and internal chaos might trigger bursts of star formation, or maybe even shut it down in certain areas.
So the very act of being torn apart could be sparking new stars.
It's definitely possible. Or hindering it in other places. It's a complex interplay. These disruptions stir up the gas and dust needed for stars, but too much chaos might also prevent it from collapsing properly.
Fascinating. Just to help visualize this, how big, or maybe how small, is the SMC compared to us, to the Milky Way?
Good question. It's definitely a dwarf.
Huh.
The SMC spans about 7,000 light years across.
Okay. And the Milky Way?
We're around 100,000 light years across.
Yeah.
So yes, significantly bigger, more than 10 times the diameter.
Big difference.
Huge difference.
Right.
And orbit-wise, the SMC takes about 1.5 billion years to go around the Milky Way once.
1.5 billion years. Wow.
Yeah. So even though it's small and takes ages to orbit, the fact that it's relatively bright and close makes it super important for astronomers.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around the main points here. We've got basically two big shockers from this study.
Right.
First, the Small Magellanic Cloud is being actively torn apart by the Large Magellanic Cloud's gravity. We see that because stars on opposite sides are moving in opposite directions.
Yep. The gravitational tug-of-war in action.
And second, the big surprise. The massive stars inside the SMC aren't rotating around the center like we thought they should be.
Correct. Which messes with our ideas about its structure, its mass, and its whole interactive history with the LMC and us.
So these aren't just like minor tweaks to the models. These are potentially big revisions.
They really could be. And they have implications far beyond just these two galaxies. Studying this kind of interaction, this galactic cannibalism, essentially.
Oh, strong word.
Well, it's descriptive. Helps us understand how all galaxies evolve, how they merge, interact, change over billions of years. What's happening to the SMC now? Something similar probably happened to smaller galaxies that the Milky Way absorbed in the past.
So it's like seeing a snapshot of a process that's fundamental to how galaxies grow and change.
Exactly. And it gives us clues about what might happen in the future, too, with other dwarf galaxies orbiting us.
Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Seeing the SMC being disrupted like this. What does that imply for the other little galaxies orbiting the Milky Way? Is this their eventual fate, too?
It's a very real possibility for many of them over cosmic timescales.
And could our own galaxy, way down the line, end up doing the same thing to its remaining companions, playing the role of the disruptor?
It certainly could. Probably already has, multiple times in its past. It just reinforces this idea that the universe, even our local corner of it, isn't static at all.
Yeah.
It's this constant dance, this interplay of immense gravitational forces shaping everything. It makes you think, what other forces, what other interactions are going on out there that we haven't even discovered yet?
A truly humbling thought. This seemingly stable cosmos is actually a place of constant, sometimes violent change.